While checking and changing your oil is important for absolutely any vehicle you own, there are some vehicles where it's even more important than normal, and one of them is the 2015 through 2020 GT350. Now, early cars had issues with the oil filters backing out, which leads to oil coming out of the motor, and in worst case can actually catch the exhaust and catch the car on fire. Now, the more modern ones, they change the filter design, but you still want to be very, very careful with the oil in this car. This Shelby is going to take 10 quarts of oil, and because of the design of the engine, these motors will actually go through some oil. So something you want to check all the time and definitely replace it when it's time to do so, which in my case is now. Today we'll show you how to change the oil in your 2017 through 2020 GT350. Now, before we get into the actual oil changes, a few things I want to go over. One, like I said, you need 10 quarts. Ford recommends 550 full synthetic, and that's what I'm going to be using here. You'll also need a specific filter. Now, I said this video is for 17, mid 17 and up. That's when they changed to the canister style filter. The original one, the process is the same, but it's not a canister. One important thing is this filter. First of all, these have been tough to get. So before you actually start doing this install, make sure you can get your hands on the proper filter. If you get the filter from your dealer, also pop it open. Make sure the O-rings are inside. Ford actually shipped a lot of these filters without the O-rings. If you contact the dealer, they will replace them, but again, make sure you have it. When you're doing this, again, this is a canister filter, so it has to be torqued to a certain torque spec. Now again, when you're doing this, grab your manual and make sure it's the supplemental manual for the Shelby. You'll actually have two in the bag. You'll have your original Mustang manual and then a supplement, which is all things specific to the Shelby. So a couple quick things. Obviously, we're doing this on a lift. You can do this on jack stands. You can do it on ramps. I did warm my car up ahead of time, so if you did the same, make sure you be real careful with the catalytic converters as they are quite hot. I should mention I checked my oil before I did this, and I was just maybe at the bottom of full, so maybe half a quart low, and that's 4,000 miles since my last oil change. So by Shelby standards, this is actually pretty good. Ford does have an allowance of around 500 miles per quart. Is almost considered acceptable. I wouldn't want a motor like that, but it is considered acceptable. But in this case, being down maybe half a quart for 4,000 miles, perfectly good with that, and ready to drain the factory oil. So last time I changed the oil, I upgraded this UPR drain plug. The factory plug would be yellow plastic. You can use it with a ratchet or by hand. This is actually a much nicer metal piece and it's very easy to get out. Should mention, make sure your drain pan can accept 10 quarts of oil. A lot of the ones out there might be 5 quarts, 6 quarts, or even 8 quarts, and you're gonna have a mess on your hands when 10 quarts comes out. It comes out in a hurry. So once you're down to a slow drip, grab the drain plug, make sure the gasket is still good, put it back in. Catch any drips off the edge there. We're ready to move on to the filter. Now, because of the nature of the Shelby, they have huge belly pans in both the front and back of the car, but Ford puts this little access panel here. You remove this little screw and you can access the oil filter. So the access panel out, you can reach up and you can see the canister filter here. Now to get this off, you can use a ratchet and basically this nut on the outside end. You'll hold this with a 1/16 socket. You're gonna thread this off. And you wanna put paper, cardboard, aluminum foil, something up in here to kind of keep it up. You are gonna have some oil drip out, and in the filter itself, you hold even more oil. So again, put some cardboard up there to make it a little bit easier. Basically get it loose. The O-rings will keep it tight for a little bit, but get it so you feel that it's about hand tight. The cartridge will have oil in it as well. Just let it drip out. Okay, now we can grab the filter once you have the housing off. And this will also have some more oil in it. And now you want to reach up with a rag, clean up any little drippings on the harnesses, belly pan. The design of this, you're going to get some oil coming out of the filter housing. Don't clean inside, just clean the edge. Okay, grab the canister. We're gonna replace these two O-rings. Just simply sort of squeeze them. You can easily get a grip on them and remove them. It's nice the canister's actually sort of even marked, shows you where the new ones go. At this point, you'll have plenty of oil on your fingers, so the new ones will be nice and lubed up. Now take the filter, seat it in the canister back up into place. And thread it in by hand. Okay, now we're going to tighten it down. When it bottoms out, grab your torque wrench. The torque spec for the manual is 16 to 19 foot-pound, which basically means barely even snug. So that's why as soon as you bottom out, grab your torque wrench. It won't take much of a turn and it'll be tight. Get a double check there's no more residual oil up here. And I should mention, if you're buying 10 quarts of oil, usually that's gonna come in a case at 12. So you'll probably end up with the case. The case, you can cut it up and is excellent for protecting this stuff from getting it too oily when you take it apart. The filter swapped, reinstall the access panel. And go up top and fill the oil. Fill cap is right here. Again, it even says 550 right on it. Also, if you have an oil separator, now's the time to drain it. Okay, we got our 10 quarts in, cap back on, and then we're gonna warm it up and check our oil level. The dipstick's in the center, below the valve cover, right below the strut tab brace on the driver's side here. Basically wanna pull it out, clean the stick, put it back in, and then check your oil. It's kind of hard to see, but our oil level is dead center, right in the middle of the axis, right where it's supposed to be. Put a few miles on it, double check it, and we're all finished. One thing you'll want to do after you change your oil is reset it on the computer of the car. So first you're going to do is hit the start button. So you want to go down to settings. Should say vehicle. And you'll see oil life reset. Now, I already reset mine, but hit OK, and then hit OK and hold it down. It'll reset it back to 100% when you're done your oil change. Now you're finished with the oil change, make sure you get rid of the oil in a responsible manner. Take it to a local parts store, or better yet, find somebody with a waste oil heater. They love getting free 10 quarts of oil for their heater for the winter time. Now again, any car, it's important to stay on top of oil changes, but a car like the Shelby that's kind of known for having some oiling issues, it's one you definitely want to stay on top of. But doing the oil change is pretty simple. It'll take you less than an hour and you'll be back on the road in no time.